This is Zonky the Donkey, and today we're going to be covering strategies and tactics while playing in a 4-man squad in Playerunknown's Battlegrounds. Now, our 4-mans in Playerunknowns play quite a bit differently than a duo or solo. There's a whole lot of different options you can do tactically, which can all result in, varying degrees of success. But today's key points that we're going to be going over are choosing landing locations and why some are better for 4-mans than others, leadership within the team, movement techniques, because moving as a group of 4, you're way more obvious. We're also going to talk about airdrops and when not to go for them. We're going to talk about tactical movements and squad tactics during a firefight once you make contact with an enemy. And most importantly of all, communication and why that is going to be the bread and butter of your team. So right away, first things first, whenever you're, assembling your 4-man squad to go in and do battle, you want to establish a leader or a shot caller right away. He's going to be the one that calls where you're landing. He's going to be the one that gives you directions during the firefights. He's going to be the one telling you, hey, when and where to go to certain places. And it's imperative that you don't have 4 different people trying to all be, little fucking squawky birds and say, no, let's go here, let's go there, what about this? Because then you just get people running around and it's pure madness. Now, as a shot caller, you have to be able to know the good loot locations, places like the military island and the little spots in between, the containers at Georgia Pole, the underground bunkers. You need to be able to pick a good spot that's far enough away from the plane to where you can get your squad fully equipped, which means rifles, helmets, and body armor for everyone. A lot of the smaller places are just, if you land on one house out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to be struggling. The key to 4-mans is getting a good start where you can get about 5 minutes of uninterrupted loot time before you make contact with an enemy, because the better equipped you are going into the first fight, you have a much higher chance of success going into the mid to the late game. So let's talk about communication. We're going to touch on this several times throughout the video, but communication related to looting is very important because you've got to loot as quickly as you possibly can. So, for example, I've got a tier 2 vest on right now, and if I were to find another one in this next room and I would need to convey that information to my teammates, I would communicate it like this. I would say, hey, tier 2 armor on Zonky the Donkey's location, yellow house, 2nd floor bathroom, for example, even though that's not where I was. And then you need to make sure someone receives that message if they need the body armor and make sure they get to you right then. That way you're not leaving valuable gear behind that's going to cost you later in the game. One other key aspect with communication is establishing what distances are. And so the easiest thing to do is, there's not really a big ruler you can use in the game to determine what 100 meters is. So I would work out with your team to say, hey, from here to this house in the distance, we're going to use that as being 100 meters. And the reason you want to do that is whenever you make contact with an enemy, you've got to be able to give some kind of distance and direction as to where they're at so your teammates can return accurate fire. So let's talk about movement techniques as a 4-man squad. Obviously, with 4 people rather than 1 or 2, you're going to be a lot easier to spot. And so there's some keys you need to remember here. And so number 1 is to spread out. And as you see here, we're in kind of a diamond formation. This isn't exactly by the books, Army or Marine infantry style. But for, video games, Playerunknown's Battlegrounds, this works well enough. And the reasons you want to spread out is because it makes it harder to spot everyone. So say if, look out to the northeast right now where we're running through this open field, enemies were to spot, 1 or 2 of us, well, maybe if we were in a more heavily wooded area, they wouldn't see all of us right away. It makes you less vulnerable because you're not all clumped up to, say, a spray of automatic fire or grenades if you happen to be in a more urban area. And most importantly, being spread out gives you more maneuvering options. So what I mean with that is whenever you take initial contact, if the enemy doesn't know where all of you are, that gives you a pretty good advantage because you can allow maybe your guys that are in the rear of the formation to go basically pull back a little and maybe execute a good flanking maneuver on the enemy. Some other key things about why being spread out, you don't have to be in a wedge or a diamond, just as long as you're spread the fuck out, it's going to give you some key advantages, especially towards the end game. It's going to give you, number 1, the recon advantage. You're going to be able to see more, and it's going to be able to give your shot caller the ability to choose a best course of action because you have more information at hand from having more eyes around in a larger area. Airdrops are a very valuable yet very risky opportunity that's going to present itself throughout your games. Often they're going to drop 2 at a time. The thing is, unless it's dropping right on top of you, it's going to be incredibly risky because people are probably going to be going there to, at the very least, set up ambushes on you. You just need to make a judgment call as a leader as whether if, a rifle or maybe a M249 saw is going to be worth it to you to even go for it. Now let's talk about some general security procedures whenever you're stopped, whenever you're not moving. So like right here, we're on the edge of the gas, kind of in one of the next to last circles with 35 people left. So what I'm going to do as a leader here is basically instruct my guys to spread out and pull 360-degree security. So we're going to basically all pick a little bit of real estate, find some cover and concealment on a good piece of terrain, and that way we can see any threats or any enemies moving in. We all make sure, and basically verbally we assign different directions. Hey, I'm going to cover from north to east, east to south, south to west, west to north. That way you've got full 360-degree coverage. You're going to see anything coming to you before they see you. Firefight. It's either the most fun part of the game by far when you're fighting as a squad. The first thing you need to do is when you take contact, which is either just visually, whether you see enemies, or you're actively engaging them with gunfires, to call out the 3Ds, which is distance, direction, and disposition. So if you set your distance markers earlier in the game, say, hey, this is 100 meters, you would call out how far away they are. You would call a direction, whether they're northeast or a compass bearing, and then you call it their disposition, which basically means what is the enemy doing right now? Are they just sitting around playing with their dicks out, or are they actively engaging you with gunfire? Now, communication as you go about the firefight, as enemies go down, whether they're knocked out or killed, you need to accurately convey that information by saying, hey, the enemy by the right side of the rock at 240 degrees, he's knocked out / dead. In addition to that, you're going to take casualties yourself on your team. You're in a pretty good spot if you make it with 4 people to the final, 15 or 20. But as people go down, you need to make a quick decision as a leader whether you need to get this guy up right away, and then, which in this case, the enemy was far enough away where we could do that, or if you need to continue to fight the enemy, before getting your buddies up. Now, we'll be doing another video later on just squad tactics during firefights, but the greatest weapon you can have as a squad, especially in the state of the game right now, is communication. That is the single best tool you have. And by that, I mean, the one thing that tilts me more than anything when I'm playing with newer people is they say, hey, enemy over here, enemy over there, on my location. That doesn't convey any information whatsoever to your team. You need to be able to give accurate distance, direction, and disposition of the enemy during the middle of firefights. You can say, so rather than saying, hey, over here, say, hey, gray building, 60 northeast, 25 meters in front of me, there's one enemy on the back left corner. He's got a submachine gun or a shotgun. Move with me and help take him out. That's the kind of communication that's going to help you win firefights. So as this game kind of winds down, we still have all 4 of our people intact and 12 left. Just remember, guys, the keys of what we talked about today is communication is number 1 and leadership number 2. Is when you have good communication, all 4 people can be focusing on singular targets, moving to objectives, and doing the right thing for the team at the time. Once again, guys, the outpouring of support for, especially my last video, episode 2, regarding tactical movement has been crazy. It's pushing 7,000 views in about 3 days. We just hit 500 subscribers. If you want more content like this, support it by subscribing, liking, and leaving comments for me. Tell me what sucks. Tell me I'm a fucking potato for all I care. That's fine, but I want to improve, my content I'm putting out for the community. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please take care, and hey, add me on Steam, join the community Discord, and let's play some games together. See you guys.